Welcome everyone to our BBLC 2025 live series. I am Dani Marie, and we are just days away from the 4th annual Black Business Leadership Conference. This is happening October 4th, that is a Saturday, at the University of Washington Hub in Seattle. Doors will open at 9 a.m., so make sure you're there. We want to catch you. You have until October 4th at midnight to grab your tickets. Don't wait. And today I have the honor of sitting with someone whose work truly embodies our theme this year. The time is now, leading and rising together. Please welcome Phillip Sharp Skills Jacobs. He is an artist, an entrepreneur, and a strategist. At BBLC, he'll be speaking on the panel Stacking Legacy, Wealth Building Beyond the Bank. And today we're going to get a sneak preview. So welcome, Phillip. For the folks who may not know you yet, how do you describe what you do?
Okay. Hey, Dani Marie, good to be here. Thank you so much. How do I describe what I do? I say that I am a communicator, first and foremost, because pretty much all that I do is connected to some sort of communication. So whether that's being a hip hop artist, an author, a speaker, even doing some acting and things of that nature, is all telling a message. And what I feel like my purpose is to help folks realize their full God-given potential. And so there's a plethora of ways that I'm grateful to my creator that I've been blessed to be able to communicate and demonstrate that. So whether it's through the music, through the books, through the speaking, all the above, all of those creative endeavors are meant to help people realize their full potential.
Love that. So your panel is the Stacking Legacy, Wealth Building Beyond the Bank. So what does Beyond the Bank mean to you? And by the way, you're on a panel with 2 other people. So did you know them prior?
I did not know them prior. So shout out to my guy, Aaron, Goins, and Bari. They're going to be joining the panel. And Aaron is going to be speaking about credit, and Bari is going to be speaking about accounting and tax strategy. My specific area of expertise is going to be around the stock market and entrepreneurship. The way that I'm coming at it is I'm just going to give people like real life scenarios and situations that I've been in. I've been investing in the stock market for 10 plus years. And because of that, that has allowed me to build, generational wealth, essentially. I'm not rich yet, but, I'm okay. And stocks have allowed me to weather some financial storms. It has allowed me to put the down payment on my home. I bought a home last year, and also investing in crypto and things of that nature. It put me in a position to do that. And I feel like every business owner, especially Black business owner, should really think about investing in the market, because while you have your business and that's great, you also have access to some of the greatest businesses on the earth and the greatest CEOs on earth. By investing in those companies, you can also rise up with them. We've been told in our communities to try to save and things of that nature. You don't get wealthy by saving your money or just putting it in the bank. You get wealthy by investing in assets that appreciate in value. And then at certain moments, strategic moments, you might want to take some of that return that you get and use it for other investments, such as a home or another business, or just, capital expenditures and things of that nature. So that's really what I want to talk about. And then entrepreneurship, we must continue to invest in our businesses. And one of the ways that I feel like we do that and we scale as entrepreneurs is by creating some sort of product. I feel like every entrepreneur needs to have some sort of product, because that's going to enable you to scale. Because as a business owner, or as a CEO, there's only so many places and so much time that you have in a day where you can be somewhere or that you can do something. But if you create a product, you put it on a website or however you're distributing it, that product carries you wherever it goes. So essentially, you're earning money while you sleep, depending on how you're marketing and positioning that product. So those are a few things that I'm going to talk about, specifically called, creating a product ecosystem.
I know that studying business, they say that you should have at least 7 sources of income. So I like how you have broken it down and made it very practical with just starting off with one product. So what was that one product that you started off with, Phillip, when you first got started in business?
Definitely. So for me, it was my music. I started off just putting out CDs, albums. And then that turned into books. And so from the books, I created a board game. I don't know if you can see it, but it's up there. It's called Reveal the Elephant. And then from there, creating other, like now I have my albums on vinyl. So that's another product, you know, in addition to the things that I do around, you know, speaking and workshops and packaging that up. If you go to my website, if you go to the store, you're going to see all kind of merch, hats, t-shirts, you know, coffee mugs, all kind of merchandise that people can, that, you know, that they can pick up. And so really for me, it's, you know, you look at like those big ticket items, which would be probably like me delivering a workshop or doing a concert, but also the things that, you know, people can just buy if they just want, you know, an experience, such as, you know, they want the vinyl or they want a book or something like that, which would be a lower cost. But if you sell enough of those, you know, you can really generate a good amount of revenue.
You know what? This took it in a different direction for me, but you touched on something. You said you actually have a vinyl record. So it took me back to, and I was just talking about this to my core audience like last week, but you took me back to Nipsey Hussle, who was charging $100 for his album, and took me back to LaRussell, who is doing the whole pay to play, I believe. So
Proud to pay. Proud to pay. Yep.
Pay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Proud to pay.
Yep.
So just tell me, what was your thought process with even going into the vinyl, going in vinyl direction, period?
Yeah, definitely. I love that question. So so this past month, in September, I actually produced 3 vinyls. So I have 3 albums. I have 7 albums in total, but I'm a little bit of a, I'm not gonna say I'm crazy, but you know, when I put my mind to something, like I go hard. So I actually put out 3 vinyls for the last 3 albums that I did. So I did an album in 2021, 2022, and 2023. And back in 2021, I had the initial idea to put that album out on vinyl. And at that time, it just didn't make sense financially. And so I just wasn't in a position to do it. And so you fast forward, I'm in a position where I'm able to do that. And I'm like, you know, to really put that stamp on that, for me, I prefer things in 3s. And so I felt like, let me really put a stamp on this and put all 3 of these albums out on vinyl. And so as an artist, like I really take the craft of hip hop serious, and it's easy to kind of get lost in the shuffle of this digital, you know, the streaming and all that. And that's cool. I'm for the streaming. I don't feel like artists get paid enough off of it, but it's here. So like, what are you going to do about it? But I feel like there are people out there that still want that nostalgia, whether they have a record player or not. If they come to one of my concerts and they really rock with me, then they'll pay, you know, the $60 for my vinyl, because they rock with me the same way they would pay $100 for a Nipsey album or for LaRussell or whatever. Because, you know, if you really respect somebody in their craft, you're going to be willing to, you know, invest something into that and pour into that. So I have a similar mindset with that. Is I look at my music as timeless art. And so what better way to make that tangible than to actually create a product that I feel like, you know, vinyl, people will buy a vinyl before they even buy a CD. They have record collections, and that's a thing. So I thought, why not get on that? It puts me in a position where I kind of separate myself from other artists that, you know, a lot of artists, they don't even create product, or they don't create vinyl. So that kind of puts me in my own lane where it's an interesting conversation as well, you know. So I just feel like it's one of those lanes where it shows that you take your craft serious, and people that really respect the music, that love the music, you know, they're more prone to want to invest in that.
In a saturated market, you've really found a way to niche down and use creative and strategic marketing to do that through like the 3 vinyl records play. So I love that. If you guys are enjoying this conversation so far, this is what you can expect from the conference on Saturday. Make sure you grab your tickets. We have, matter of fact, let's get into this name, Phillip Sharp Skills Jacobs. Let's get into this name. If you guys are enjoying this conversation with Mr. Sharp Skills, please make sure you visit the website, grab your ticket, but also share this video wherever you're watching it. So tell me about the name. What's the genesis of Sharp Skills?
So I wish I had like a super fancy like explanation behind it. I ended up getting the name when I was in high school. And I had another name before that. It was horrible. It was called disruptive combustion. Like it was like, bruh, is you a science project or what? You feel me? But sharp skills just kind of came because I used to freestyle a lot when I was in high school, and I would battle and just the whole nine, and I'd just be out there, and somehow, some way that name kind of emerged. Like either people saying like, man, he got skills, you know, and stuff like that. And there was already an artist called Mad Skills at the time. And so I think Sharp just kind of really stood out to me. And I've always been somebody like even my logo for Sharp Skills is it's a sword with the mic, you know. And so I feel like I always kind of geared myself toward that, because I mean, this is going even deeper, but I feel like every man should kind of have a warrior mindset to a degree. And so even like using the mic in terms of like how I see the mic as like, you know, it can be a weapon. It can be a weapon for good, or it can be a weapon for bad, you know, using your message and your voice in that way. And so for me, that's also part of the imagery behind it. But just being sharp, being on point, making sure that I'm dotting my I's, crossing my T's. And that's just a lifestyle principle for me, honestly, is that I believe in being organized and being on top of my game, and you know, really being as as sharp as possible when it comes to, you know, just carrying myself in life. So that's kind of where I can't tell you like pinpoint, like, yeah, at that moment I was sharp skills. All of a sudden I was sharp skills, and that just kind of carried with me until now.
Yeah. Okay. So you are the sharpest lyricist in that #1 spot. So in the top 5, what other 4 artists are up there right with you?
Ooh, okay.
Sharpest skills.
I like how you asked that question. So I'm definitely gonna go with like these are my top rappers.
Yes, you are
My
top. We don't
rappers.
care about all these other outlets, media outlets that try to come up with the top 50 list.
With
This
the
is your
list.
list.
Ooh,
Your list.
okay. Ooh, that's a good. Okay. All right, let me take my time with this one.
Take your time. I'm gonna get a sip of water, you guys. You guys drop a comment below. Tell us your top 2.
All right. Okay. So I'm gonna go. Damn, this is really hard. Okay. Jay-Z. I'm gonna go Jay-Z. I'm gonna put Nas up there too.
Okay. Respect.
I'm gonna go with Kendrick. And I'm gonna go with Nip. I'm gonna say Nipsey. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Nip. There's so many others like that. I mean, because I'm Andre 3000.
No, you're filtering. Like you can't filter. You can't filter
Okay,
with everybody.
All right. No. I'm just saying there's so many other artists, hip hop artists, like, because another guy. So there's 2 rappers that it's like, man, I will rap with anybody, but these are like 2 guys that I probably would not have my hand up to go after.
Okay.
So King Los and Lupe Fiasco. Like when Lupe is on one, he has this song called what's it called? I think it's called Mural. I want to say it's called Mural. To me, that is the greatest example of lyricism damn near ever. I believe it's called Mural. And then King Los is another one, because King Los, he's like the king of freestyle, and his freestyles sound like writtens. And you can tell that they're freestyles though, because he'll be talking about something that's happening right then and there in the situation that he's in, you know. So those are other guys I have to put up there as honorable mention. But if I'm gonna have like my top 4, it's gonna be Jay, Nas, Kendrick, and Nip.
Okay, I like that list. I like that list. So what advice do you give anyone who feels pressure to stay in their lane instead of leaning into their full skill set? And I like that question because I do feel like we're just now getting to a point where, you know, we know just having one source of income is not going to do. We know that you should be able to do all of the things and show up as your full self. But there was a time where people would say, you need to get good at this one thing first before you can see success in anything else. For that person who's still stuck in that box, what would you tell them about showing up as their full authentic self with all of their skill sets?
That's a good one. See, I am of the mindset that you should try to master one thing first, because if you master that one thing first, it's not only that you're learning how to master that specific first, but you're also learning the skill sets that will go into mastering the next thing. And the reason I say that is because, you know, starting out solely as a rapper, as a musician, that led me into writing books, you know, and then from books, a board game, you know. It's also shaped how I invest in the market. Like now I have an eye for like marketing. I have an eye for like what a consumer might want to be, what they would be interested in, and like what's appealing to them, the things that I've learned along the way. But it wasn't like I just
I was going to say, so connect the dots for us. What was that transferable skill that you were able to take from music, apply it to writing your first book, and then moving over into the gaming industry? What was that one thing or theme?
Well, I mean, if you can write, and I think I get this from John Singleton. I think I heard Ice Cube mention this when he was working with John Singleton on Boys in the Hood. Is like, if you can write a song, you can write a movie, you know? So to me, it's the same. Like if you can write a song or you can create an album, you can create a book. It's almost similar. Like usually most albums that have like 10, 11, 12 songs, you can create 10 or 11, 12 chapters. A book just gives you the space to elaborate more on, you know, what you would say in a song. So it's kind of like a similar structure, you know. And I even see like book publishing the same way I see the music industry. A lot of it is very similar in terms of like, you know, how do you market yourself as an author? How do you find a voice and a platform and a market that would want to find value in what you offer, you know, as an author or speaker or an artist. So I think it's just kind of seeing, that's why I said at the beginning, I'm a communicator at heart. I do is kind of connected to that piece where it's telling a story or a message or getting the word out there about something. And so I think entrepreneurs have to find kind of like that core part of their identity, and then you can map the different things that can come out of that. So that's what I would say. You know, it's like if you do hair, like let's say you're a stylist or something like that, or a barber, you might be able to teach, because a lot of times barbers, they're in there talking to their clients, giving them game. So you can teach. Maybe you're teaching other barbers, or you got a certain skill set that will allow you to speak to young kids or something like that, you know, in a way that they can understand it. And then from there, you might be able to sell really well because you're talking. So you have that gift of gab. So why not create your own like hair grease or brush or something like that? And you begin to use that. And then you got a brush. Okay, so you got this one brush. Now let's make 2 other brushes and a comb. And then it just kind of expands from there, you know, and then you look up and then you got an empire before you know it.
I think so many of us, though, we forget about, you know, putting in the groundwork. We obviously, a lot of us come from wanting to have that microwave society, everything handed to us. We don't understand the work that goes into building, number one, building the product to the business, to the entity, and then 2, building the community. So I like that you also touched on that community piece. We especially when it comes to like our first project, we feel like friends and family should jump right onto it. So we just really have an issue with that gratification, and we have to be mindful that for the greats, it takes them 10 plus years. But speaking of the community piece, for that person, I feel like we also have this stigma coming from Washington. I don't know if you're from here, but the Seattle freeze, where we always say we're going to connect with somebody, but we never connect or follow through. So as we're coming to a close, I want to ask, for that person that's just so used to being, you know, by themselves, grinding by themselves, doing everything in isolation, living in a bubble, in a silo, why is it important for them to show up to the conference on Saturday? What is the key factor and reason why they should attend?
Yeah, so I think in addition to the gems that are going to be given by the different speakers and facilitators that are going to be there, I mean, there's just so much power in networking, and being in a room of collective energy of like-minded people that for one look like you, and many of them have similar backgrounds, similar struggles, similar aspirations and goals, and putting yourself in a position where you're a part of that frequency, because a lot of times when you're doing it by yourself, and I'm one of those people, I'm really a loner, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I connect with people, but I do a lot of stuff on my own. But I also realize the power of being inside that frequency and that energy wave where there's just something that might be said, or there's a vibe that it helps trigger something in me that I didn't even know was in me, or something that helps me to see stuff a certain way. And that might be the entire, I mean, I'm not going to say the entire value of the conference, but that might be the main value. If I'm just sitting there and I'm taking notes, and somebody like Dani Marie, you say something and it just sparks, it opens my mind up to something that I didn't even think about, a new marketing strategy for my vinyl. And you might be talking about podcasting, but I'm like, damn. And I connect the dots, and then I take that and I run with it, and it changes like the next 5 to 10 years of my life, So I think it's like just coming with that intention, like come like ready to receive, come ready to meet folks and connect, and trust that you're going to meet the right people. A lot of times I think people kind of remain in their shells because they're like, oh, it's a waste of time, or I don't feel like driving to Seattle if you're in Tacoma, but I really feel like, I'm a believer in God. I feel like, God really orders your steps when you make yourself available, so if you make yourself available, then you're going to be able to receive the thing that is tailor-made for you, so that would be my encouragement, is to get out of that comfort zone and just step out there just a little bit. You ain't got to do too much. Like, you ain't got to shake everybody's hand, but if you're able to just, if you hear somebody say something that's dope, or you see somebody, the way that they conduct themselves, or you hear something from somebody, it's like, just say, hey, my name is such and such, and this is what I'm doing, and I heard what you said, and I like what you're doing, and just see where it goes. No pressure,
I love that. That's a great way to end it off. So if you see Phillip, make sure you come and approach him and say, hey, what's up? I enjoyed the conversation you had with Dani Marie, and make sure you, I don't know, do you already know what time you're supposed to be up? What time you're doing your workshop?
I think 2:00, but don't quote me on that.
Okay,
I think it's gonna be around 2. Yeah.
So look for him in general, but around 2:00, make sure you're tapping in with the session. So let me just go back for just a quick minute to remind you, that is the Stacking Legacy Wealth Building Beyond the Bank session. All right. Yep. Make sure you check it out. So thank you, Mr. Jacobs, for the powerful conversation, and to everyone watching. This was just an appetizer. The main course happens Saturday, October 4th, 9 a.m. at the University of Washington Hub in Seattle. Remember, you have until October the 4th, midnight, to lock in your ticket. Don't miss this chance to learn, network, and rise together. The time is now. See you at BBLC 2025. I'm Dani Marie. Mr. Phillips, thank you again.
Peace out, y'all.
Bless.